I honestly don't think that Gotway will disappear as a company. But unless they do something in terms of how it handles a crash, the money that they were worried about making by not including protection so that when a wheel crashes, you just purchase another one, and that ends up being their income, that's going to be more of a problem moving forward than it ever has been in the past. Good morning, guys. How's it going? Now, I just wanted to talk on something today. I would like to, first of all, thank you guys for um, your comments and your feedback regarding the video I posted yesterday on the rail. I wanted to mention and talk about something right now. Why did Gottway decide on not including some type of rail protection on their wheels? You know, I don't know the answer to that, but I could guess the answer. Um, at the time Gottway first came out, they were not really in competition with anyone, to be honest. Now, this is all from my mind, guys. I don't really know the facts on this. I'm trying to assume the answer based on when I first got into the game of riding, the EUC riding game, right? The riding experience. Let's call it the riding experience. So, Gottway at the time was considered by many riders as a company that pretty much copied a lot of the technology from other successful EUC manufacturers like InMotion. And you know what they did was they now I don't know if they did that. That was just the consensus by a lot of guys, is that they just pretty much re-engineered what InMotion and Kingsong was doing and other companies in the EUC industry, and they made something. Because at the time, no one was interested in speed. Like, this was still pretty much brand new, and most people were not really concerned with speed. They were concerned about transportation. But there was this segment of people out there, this segment of riders, who really did care about speed, performance, etc. And Gottway realized that. And from my understanding, Gottway is a company that's pretty much ran by an enthusiast. It's not ran by some type of bureaucratic person. It's literally someone like me and you who tend to have the skills, and they went out there and built something amazing. That's how I took it. So with that in mind, my thinking is that Gottway didn't really have a lot of funding, etc., etc. So maybe, this is just one assumption, maybe they decided to build something that was amazing, but didn't garner all the support, didn't garner the support of everyone in the EUC universe or world. And so my guess is they built the wheel. Everybody loved it because of speed and because of range. And let's be honest, at the time, Gottway had the best battery management to speed technology out there. BMS technology, battery management systems. And no one else could compete with them. They were the only wheel manufacturer at the time to have insane high speeds, okay? To have insane high speeds and have amazing battery performance at the same time. You know what I mean? So with that, you still had a small segment of people interested in their wheels. So my guess is they built the wheel. The wheel was meant to break so that you can purchase more wheels. And that's exactly what happened, especially with the Tesla, with the M Super, which at the time was, I think, 25 to 30 miles an hour. And that M Super was a beast wheel. And again, we saw people like Chooch blazing around with such a wheel. And that was just the thing, you know what I mean? But In my assumption, that was the business plan. To build the wheel with amazing performance, but not really taking into account the fact that, when this thing crashes, there needs to be some type of remedy. There needs to be some type of contingency plan in case crazy guys like myself and others go ahead and destroy this thing. No, their business plan was designed to fail. I don't know this. I'm not making this case. I'm just thinking about why in the freaking world would a high performance company not build some type of inherent protection in a wheel like this, a wheel of this caliber. You know what I mean? This doesn't make any sense to me. So let's fast forward many, many years later. Sherman comes out with this amazing protection that's built into the wheel. But what's interesting to take is it came from engineers that came out of Gotway, which kind of makes the case for what I'm trying to say, and what a lot of people have said is that this was on their minds. It's just, it didn't make business sense to do it. And that's really what drives a lot of companies, in my opinion, and maybe not my opinion, maybe it's just fact, is that if you don't have an income source, a recurring source of income, or a recurring way of making money, then what's the point of making anything? I love BMW cars, but these cars, if you don't maintain them properly, man, they break down and then the parts are crazy. Now, what's interesting about BMW is the parts are actually not that expensive in many cases. It's the labor. The labor is insane. Wow, that's a nice photo shoot. By the way, I'm riding in soft mode, so soft mode is just beautiful. Soft mode is the best. Let me just take a detour here. Soft mode is the best with the Gottway MSP torque version because of how strong the motor is. So when I request for power, it gives it to me. There is a little play, but that's okay because the motor is so powerful. I feel it's almost immediate. But do the soft mode in with an 84 volt or 67 volt, and you will feel the lack of power. Anyway, back to my point. So Sherman comes out with this protection thing, and it's amazing. And not only is it amazing, it works, It actually works. Everything. It works around everything they built. It works in terms of speed, the range. Most importantly, the whole riding dynamics of the wheel works perfectly fine. And there was nothing compromised except for weight. In the weight department, yes, but you get range and speed. But anyway, yeah, so they don't have any type of protection for none of their wheels. And what we've seen with people like Kamikaze Joe crashing in the cutout tunnel is that those wheels were never meant to crash. That's just the reality. Now, grant you, I have crashed this wheel. This wheel here, the torque version MSP, the first day I got it, I crashed it because I was trying to see whether or not it did 45 miles an hour. And it didn't. It only did 40.1 or 41. But it crashed at 41, cuts out at 41 miles an hour. So these wheels were never meant to crash. And yet, Gottway insists on generation after generation not putting any type of protection on this wheel. Now, this begs the question. If Gottway did, in fact, eventually ended up putting protection on their wheels, would you buy it? Would you purchase this wheel? If Gottway really ended up putting protection on their wheel, like I did with the rail and many others have done, would you end up purchasing that wheel? Or should Gottway have gone in a different direction altogether, like Sherman, and incorporate protection in the shell itself, the design? Either way, it would have been expensive. Either way, it would have been expensive. And I think the answer is yes, we would have bought it, because that would have been the norm. Right now, this does not look out of place. This design looks beautiful. Don't you guys agree? This design looks quite beautiful. It doesn't look out of place. It doesn't look like it's too much, and it definitely doesn't take away, and take it from me, it doesn't take away from the riding maneuverability of the wheel. There's a race coming up, and in fact there's been many races in New York, in Boston, California, Europe, and what do you see? Just the other day I saw a guy in Europe somewhere showing us how he destroyed his wheel completely, how it split apart upon impact. And that's usually the case with Gotway wheels, is that they split apart upon hard impact. Now, there are lots of people with bolt-ons, with bumpers, all kinds of things, just to aid in the possibility of a crash, which is almost inevitable, especially if you're a performance rider. But even when you're not a performance rider, like we saw Marty, for example, when he was riding the Z10 down the overheat hill, the thing, flew off on its own because it had some issue braking, but the shell of the Z10 was so strong that, the impact was pretty much, didn't do anything to it. It was ineffective in damaging the wheel. But here's the problem with the Z10. Although the shell was strong, the weight of the Z10 almost made no sense for such a wheel because it had no range, no speed, and, well, I wouldn't say no speed, it's just at the time 30 miles an hour was the thing. But with Gottways, obviously, Gottways were way crazier. But either way, it's not a wheel that you would say, okay, the shell was the reason why this thing had no range or whatever. No, the Sherman's a heavy freaking wheel. This MSP is a heavy freaking wheel. The Nikola, all these wheels are amazing, but they have great range and they have great speed, great maneuverability, etc. So Gottway could have done a number of things with protecting their wheels, but they didn't. They decided not to. And let's look at this. What is the price? What is the price of repairing this wheel? And let's say you'd completely destroy this wheel. What is the price of getting a brand new shell and paying someone to fix this for you? Well, I went on eWheels, and I know eWheels no longer sells this particular wheel. They no longer sell the high-speed MSP or the torque MSP. Gottway has gone along and switched it over to a more high-performance Gottway Bigode RS, as you all know. What I like about this particular wheel is how compact it is. It's just so beautifully compact, and how it fits between your legs. It allows you enough space to maneuver. That is number one when riding in traffic. Now, a lot of guys ride straight, stiff leg, etc., etc. You cannot ride straight, stiff leg, without your knees bent when riding a Sherman in traffic. Because if a car comes, if a bike comes, if any type of pedestrian tries to interfere with your trajectory, that weight of that wheel is going to impact how you respond to the situation. And this wheel is so compact, it's so small, it's so maneuverable, it's so agile. The torque is so immediate, the braking is so immediate. The motor can handle anything you throw at it, that this makes this wheel ideal for almost any type of rider once you know how to ride, once you learn how to ride. And that's what's amazing about Gottways. It's the wheel for everyone. It's literally a wheel for everyone. Anyone can purchase a Gottway. Not everyone can purchase a Sherman. Not anyone can purchase a Kingsong or InMotion with the intent of going fast. Well, now we can kind of assume that InMotion V12, from what I've heard, and I don't like talking about wheels I don't know about or have facts about, but the InMotion V12 is slated to do 45 miles an hour. And I was always curious why InMotion never did this, because in my assumption, in my assessment, InMotion has the best quality control ever. Yes, they have wheels that go bad, but it's rare you hear InMotion wheels going bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if part of that is because of how much they limit themselves in the speed department. But anyway, back to Gottway. Gottway could have done an amazing job And I don't think they should have compromised on protection. They should not have compromised on that at all. I don't know why they did, but well, I could assume why they did is that you crash a wheel, you buy another Gotway, and the cycle just keeps repeating itself. And the thing about us is, Gottway literally answered our burning desires for speed. They're the only wheel manufacturer for years that was able to do that. InMotion never did it, Kingsong never did it, and they were not able to do it. We'll see with the V12, but this company right here, Gotway Bigote, has been the only company to give us what we need, what our hearts desired, except with the caveat that, listen, you crash this thing, here goes your money, here goes your pocket. Come back and say hello to you know, and that's how they build their model. So let me just take some pictures, guys, to put on the website. Okay, hold on. All right, these were some great photos I just took. Guys, I'm not a photographer, but I have a DSL camera, so I took some pictures. Please go and check those photos out and on ustridetech.com, and let me know what you guys think. Anyway, back to my point here regarding Gottway, the owner of Gottway being someone who was pretty much enthralled with the EUC world, who loved EUCs and went about and built something great for the rest of us. And not just that, they built something great that many other companies ended up following later on. Me being an enthusiast, and many others as well, but me in particular being an enthusiast, is that other side of Gottway that says you should have built that protection. You should have incorporated that rail. You should have not thought of merely profit. You should have thought of the rider, because you yourself are a rider. You know, yes, the Gottway manufacturer, the Gottway inventor, the person who built Gottway is passionate about electric unicycles, but he wasn't passionate enough to include us. And even today we see that in many cases he doesn't really listen to his passionate fans, his passionate riders. And so I've taken it upon myself, many of you have taken it upon yourselves, to close that gap, to put a patch in that hole that's been absent from Gottway since its inception. Yes, they're good with speed. Yes, they're good with battery management. Yes, they're good with performance. But what is all of that when your entire wheel is an egg? An egg is good. It's very strong when you hold it from its top to its bottom. You hold it really strong. You squeeze on it and it's really, really tight. You're like, wow, I can't break this egg. That's how Gottway is. It's an egg from top to bottom. If you ride it just right, you know, if you don't drop it, it's perfect. It's a beautiful looking egg. But the moment you drop this thing in a way that an egg is not supposed to be dropped, well, what happens? It splatters all over the place and we can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And that's not cool. That is not cool. That is not cool, Gottway. You have the best wheel on the market and you just let it slip right through your hands. So people like myself, enthusiasts such as myself, enthusiasts such as yourselves, we've taken it upon ourselves to say, listen, we don't stand for that. We want great wheels, but not at the expense of keeping your company alive. And not at the expense of not just keeping your company alive, not at the expense with not being smart enough, without taking risks in order to give us what we need fully, you know? And we can see that, we can see the fruits of that with the Sherman, which are engineers that came out of Gottway. And you can tell that even though the owner of Gottway portrays himself to be someone that loves EUCs, he ended up being the bureaucracy. At some point, he ended up being the one that fights against us. And those engineers that left Gottway ended up being the ones to save us. So, with all that said, who is Gottway for? Who should buy a Gottway? Well, anyone who wants performance. Anyone who wants speed matched with range, portability, and maneuverability and agility, etc. That's who should get a Gotway. But you can say, hey, I can do that with InMotion. Well, you can't get speed. You can't get the performance you get out of a Gotway. I can't speak of the V12 yet because I don't have a V12 and I've never touched it. But this is what Gotway is, and this is what Gotway is known for. But now it's on us riders, us passionate riders, to take it upon ourselves and move Gotway, nudge Gotway a little ahead. Will I get upset if Gotway ends up taking this rail and making it part of their design? I mean, I would hope they give me some type of credit. But if not, no, I wouldn't be upset. Just move on to the next invention, you know? But it's us making a statement. And I feel that I've made this statement with this rail. I've made a statement with this rail. And I think many of you passionate riders out there who really believe that Gottway should have taken that route initially can support me, can support this movement by purchasing the rail. That's what I think. Let me know what you guys think. You know, this is what it should have been all along. This is what it should have been all along. And don't get me wrong, I'm doing this. You guys remember the scene with, what's his name? With Tony Stark and the guy who tried to build the reactor, the scientist. He went to them and he was like, well, Tony Stark built this in a cave with scraps. And you can't do it? Well, truth of the matter is, I built this in a cave with scraps. And Gottway has all the engineers in the world that they could ever need in order to build something fantastic. And they didn't. So I'm asking you guys to support me on this mission of making EUCs great. Support me on this mission of making Gottway great. Because let's be honest, other wheels out there are not going to wait for Gottway. They're not going to wait. Sherman didn't wait. InMotion didn't wait. Who knows what King Sung is coming up with. And honestly, a lot of us are not upset. A lot of us are very happy with what these companies are doing. Now, granted, they are doing it on the backs of Gottway because it is Gottway who was leading without leading. It's kind of funny because Gottway, when they first came out, they weren't trying to compete. They were just building great wheels. But now that we have a bunch of electric unicycle manufacturers out there who are actually building what riders really want, Gottway is put in a position that they have to compete now. And they're doing a terrible job at it. Because we can see that with the hollow motor, that they went nuts. They went crazy with the, even the EX, you know, the Black Cobra just mentioned that he had issues with the battery going down or draining really fast. But I can't speak to that because I've never ridden the Gottway EX. But my point is, these companies are not going to wait on Gottway. They're not going to wait. And I don't think Gottway will disappear as a company. I honestly don't think that Gottway will disappear as a company. But unless they do something about their quality in terms of how it handles a crash, I don't think that they will, the money that they were worried about making by not including protection so that when a wheel crashes, you just purchase another one, and that ends up being their income, that's going to be more of a problem moving forward than it ever has been in the past. So let's hope they pay attention. Let's hope they pay attention to everyone else, because it's hard to go against the tide. It's very hard to go against the tide unless you're an innovator. And Gottway has been an innovator, but they've gone to sleep. So I haven't given up on Gottway. I haven't given up on Big Go Day. But I'm very curious to see what they're going to come up with next. The Monster is beautiful, the EX is beautiful, the EXN is beautiful, but just if you go to their website right now, you will see that every single one of their wheels look naked. even in motion, has some type of rubber protection on the front of their wheel to help with impact. But Gotway, for some reason, just has no interest in that. That's fascinating to me. Anyway, one step at a time, guys. But again, I haven't given up on Gotway. And the one thing I absolutely love about that particular company is its performance, its portability, its range. Oh my gosh, its agility. No one comes close to that. Sherman tried, but they compromised on the weight. V12 is trying. Let's see where they're going to compromise. I have to give it to Gottway, though. There were people making fun of Gottway's square design, but let's be honest. At the moment, because of battery technology, the square design is king. Because Sherman has a square design, V12 has a square design. Who knows what Kingsong almost had a square design with their 16X. So yeah, guys, it's time for me to head out. Till next time, let me demonstrate some of this performance on my way back home. What I'm saying, guys, what other wheel can you push like this with all that agility and maneuverability? No other wheel, dude, just Gottway. Gottway only. That little dip you saw was from the soft mode. I love soft mode on the NSP torque, man. It's the best.